Hello and welcome to one of my first videos. I just wanted to get one made, get this done, and get my lab set up, my home lab, and hopefully get some good knowledge going out to everybody. This is one of the first ones that I've ever done, so hopefully you'll bear with me here. I don't know how great it's going to be. I actually haven't thought of how I'm going to upload this to you guys yet. Maybe I can just drop it in the blog. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll tie directly into YouTube. I haven't really figured that much out yet, I guess. But I will try to make this as simple as possible today. But just to give you an agenda, what we're going to do is we're going to set up Minicom so that you can use that on your Linux box to remote into a Cisco switch. I'm not going to go through the serial port configuration. We're going to assume that you know how to do that on your own, but if you don't, you can just ask me questions, and I gladly help. Mine is through a USB device, through a TTY USB 0, which is actually for VMware, because I'm on my home PC, which is running Windows instead of my work one, but normally Minicom would be through roughly TTY 8 or something like that. But that should be pretty simple once that's set up and you have that communicating. I'll just show you how to make a bash shortcut so that you can just type a shortcut, an alias, real quick, and it'll work easily. And then you should be able to get this going and running on your own. So without further ado, we'll try to get started here, and then when we do that, we'll reset the switch. Well, right now we don't have access, so but you'll see that soon enough. We don't have access, and we'll get it going, and we'll try to get logged in. Normally, what you would do is you would just rename the config, and then write your own password, and then write a new config. Basically, it merges the two configs. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to erase it. Long story short, you'll see what happens here in a second. But we'll try to get started here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to edit your bash file, so that it's a bash RC file, so that you can have a shortcut to Minicom, which if you don't have that, sudo apt-get install Minicom will get that for you. But if you scroll down here a little bit, you can see here that I have a couple aliases set up, but one of the ones that's important is sudo Minicom, and I just set it to mini because you have to run it as sudo most times for it to work effectively, so you might as well do that. So once we get that shortcut going, basically you start up mini, just type mini, and it'll log in. And then, as you can see, I don't have access to the switch. Long story short, I do know what the password is, but we're not going to do that today. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to work through this together, and we're going to erase this as if you had inherited your own home lab equipment. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to power off the switch, and when I have it unplugged, I'm going to hold in the modular button that's on the front. You can make it do different things. So if we hold this in here for about 15 seconds, it'll come up here in a few seconds, and the way you can tell is the light will stop flashing and it'll be a solid green. And whenever it becomes a solid green, here in 1 second. Okay, that should be about it, and then you can let go of it, and then it'll flash up on the screen, and pretty much as soon as you let go, it'll say, okay, you're in switch mode, or also known as ROM mod. And if you're in ROM mod mode here, it just gives you a couple commands that you can do, and it says, hey, you can flash in it, and load helper and boot. So we're going to run flash in it, and basically that is flash initialization, and if you initialize the flash, it allows the device to read from the flash directory, which is where the config is stored. So if you initialize that here, it'll take a second, but okay. It flies through there and it says, all right, flash is initialized. So we're gonna do the flash here. It's gonna show what is in here. Right now we have the boot image, the bin file that it boots to. We have VLAN data, which is from somebody else, but we'll get rid of that here. And then we have config.txt, which is what we're looking for. So we're going to want to get rid of config.txt. We're going to, you could delete it, but I would actually probably prefer, normally you would rename it, and then this is how you reset a password. But if you notice that the tabs don't complete, there is no autocomplete in ROM mod mode, which is pretty bad, especially if you're typing out that entire C3560 IP services K9MZ, well, all that. So that's not good. But I just typed load helper just to make sure that the commands are accepted properly. As you can see up there, it had rough commands that you can use. So again, we're going to look in the flash here and see what we have. When we're looking for the config, so we're going to go in and we're going to rename this. We're going to rename it from config.text to config.something else. So we're going to do it for simple purposes. We're going to say we're going to rename flash config.text to flash config.old, and then we can't tab that in there. So old habits die hard. but if you just go ahead and okay, don't enter that because that's not going to work for you. For some reason, it's not wanting to take that. But let's try without the flash. Maybe it knows where to read it from. So we're going to just try naming it from config to config.old because it's it says hey, old name and new name. It says no, there's no such device. So all right, we're going to rename the flash config.text to config.old. No, that's not going to take it either. It doesn't look like I misspelled anything. Let's try this one more time here. Just to make sure, we'll type it a little extra slow. No, it's not liking it. Maybe... No, it's initialized. You know what? We're just going to delete it. It will work easier for us. We could do a rename, but delete's going to work just as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete flash.text, and it's going to confirm. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, we do, because we don't really want to save any of this. We don't need any other information. So I'm going to delete this other one that just resides on here, config.old. I didn't do that. Somebody else must have reset the password at some point, and they have an old config that's residing on there, but we'll get rid of that. So from here, you should be able to pretty much verify that there's nothing else in the flash that you don't want. And yep, looks like for some reason the config.old didn't get rid of it, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and boot because if you go ahead and boot from here, it doesn't matter. You can do all that stuff from the command line once it boots into the switch. So we don't really have to do it right now. It would be nice to, but no one's holding our arms to it. So no one's holding us to the fire. So once this boots here in a second, we'll get into there and we'll figure out maybe we can get this set up, and I'll show you a couple commands here that will hopefully get you well on your way to setting up your home lab for your home use. Instead of having a password that's blocking you out, now it should be booting, and it will boot to that image without a password. It basically what you did was you erased or removed the startup config that was there. Config.text is the startup config, and if that's gone, it doesn't have a password. It doesn't have any sort of file to read. It just basically says, oh, I don't have any configuration. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to dump you to the main screen, which is handy for us because that's exactly what we want. So once this gets done here, it'll give us a couple seconds. It'll give us a couple options. It'll say, hey, you're going to probably want to hit return to get started, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get in here. We're going to get elbow deep in this switch. We're going to teach you who's boss. We're going to say, listen, I don't want your silly password. We're going to give you our own password. So, all right, we'll get started in here, and it's giving us some notifications that just say, hey, it's starting up. It's no big deal. But it's really okay. You can pretty much ignore those. It's not the end of the world. So instead, you could just type enter to clear past that, and then it's going to say, do you want to enter initial configuration dialog? And you say no because that's an automatic prompt that doesn't really help you. Even if you did know what you were doing, it's not going to help you. So we're going to hit no. And when we hit no, it will drop us at the switch prompt, which there's an official name for it. I can't think of what it is right now as much as I should. I can't think of. I think it's privilege mode is the first one, which really is kind of a deceiving name. So I just call it switch mode, and then the other one is enable mode, and then the third one is going to be conf T or configuration mode, which is pretty straightforward when you think about it. So what we'll do is we'll get in here and we'll say no, we don't want that. So we're at the switch prompt. I'm going to type N for enable. Okay, I'm going to show the run and see what's in here. There's some VLAN information right there at the top, but other than that, it looks pretty clear. Nothing on the interfaces, no interface, no IP on interface 1, nothing on line cons. It looks pretty clear. So there's no startup config. We erased that, so it couldn't find it. So if we look in the flash again, it shows the config old, but we're going to get rid of that. So whoops, caps lock. We're going to go ahead and we're going to delete. And then autocomplete this will work now, which it makes it a lot easier instead of doing this in Ramon. So we're going to delete the config old. Yes. Get rid of that. Let's go ahead and see if there's anything in there. The only thing left that we really want to probably get rid of is VLAN.dat. We don't need that. So it will erase any VLAN information that happened to be residual from the people before us. We don't really want that. So it's still there for now. In the running config, but a reboot will get rid of it because it doesn't have anything to read from. So if you write mem, that is writing the memory, basically it erases the config that may be there. So we're going to get rid of that and say that should work perfect. And then from here we should be able to check our flash and see if there's anything in there. No, config.txt is back, so that is good, but our VLAN is gone, which is also good. We are on the right path. This is working out well for us. So what we are going to do is, just in case, we're going to delete the new config.txt. Just to make sure that it doesn't have anything to load, it's going to load bare metal case. And then when this restarts, we should be good to go. It should load up with basically as if it were from the factory. That's the great part about this, is whenever you're able to erase that config, you can set it up however you want. It's as if it's brand new. There's no residual information that's left on there as long as you get rid of that VLAN.dat. VLANs are troublesome if you don't know what to do with them. They can be confusing, but they don't have to be. But one of the things as far as troubleshooting, if there's intermittent connectivity or certain ports may not be working and stuff, a hidden VLAN.dat or VLAN information is what will probably be the cause. It will easily break up your switch into different networks, which is not what you want all the time. Sometimes you do for learning, but not all the time. So it's really okay. So once we get this loaded back up here, it should be good. We'll finish uncompressing that image, and basically drops it on the switch for you to go ahead and utilize all that. And then this will boot back up here in 1 minute. So I know that this is an old version of the iOS. 12.2, 35 is a relatively really old one, but we're not going to worry about updating that today. We're just going to focus on getting it started so that we can remote into the switch, or we can, actually we're not even going to remote in, we're not even going to set that much up, but we're going to set it up so we can console in, so we can plug into the back of it and get it going. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter a couple times, get past this screen again, and then it'll say, hey, do you want to do this? And we'll be like, no, we still don't want to do that. So we're going to enable, and then we're going to show run. And if you notice, those VLANs are gone at the top there. No other config is in there, so that's good. So we're really on the right track here. But one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to first go to line con 0, and you're going to want to set logging synchronous, which stops those prompts just like that one did right there. So I already went into it, but I typed it all out on that screen, but you couldn't see it. So I wanted to do that again and show you line con 0, and then if you type log syn, you can abbreviate these commands, which really saves you some time. But log syn is one of the first ones that you're going to want to remember. It is very helpful whenever you're you're going in and setting this. So this is just showing you again that line con 0, and if you type logging and then tab, it'll finish it for you. So you can finish it all out. So logging synchronous is going to go ahead and that'll get you set up there. And then you should be able to be set up from here. There's no IP address on it, so you can just plug anything in, and provided it has an IP address on the other side and you're on a flat network, it should communicate. But if you wanted to set an IP, you can go in and set an IP, because you have terminal access in the back. You have console access, so that's good. You shouldn't be interrupted by pesky messages, so you should be good there. And we'll configure this one a little bit more. I've got to erase my other 2 switches, but we should be pretty good from this point on to go ahead and get a good config started and get set up here. And you can, if you do this in your home lab, you can go ahead and mess around in here. But the one thing you're going to want to remember is just to write, so that you save your config with any changes that you do, and then you should be good. Just go out there and get practicing on your own. Everything should go pretty well. Good luck. Thanks.